when she was 2 years old, she could carry on a conversation with anybody. She was really good. And when she was 2 years old, she learned to sing Ave Maria.
Really?
I think I was 4, but
Right.
we disagree about that.
Right on tune.
Oh, that must have been very cute.
We had a good time.
Plan.
Oh, when I was 13, I got to skip school for 3 days and drive a tractor. It was an old Ford tractor, a little tiny thing. My dad got on the back end of it, and we planted 10,000 pine trees.
Really?
Yes. And then the rest, I was still at home for about 5 more years. And during that time, the pine trees and I continued to grow up together. It was very neat. And now that house, though Mom sold it, is surrounded by a small pine forest. So to this day, I love fir trees.
Yes.
They're my favorite. But we had a woods. We were so fortunate. Dad bought that land when we first came to Mount Vernon. He needed the high hills on the land for to put up his radio antennas, because he was in electronics and frequency measuring, as I said. And so we got the highest point of land in Ohio that we knew about at the time was Mr. Bizio's farm, and Mr. Bizio didn't want to sell for some reason. So we got the second highest point of land, which by luck was for sale, 3 big rolling hills and fields, and then behind it a woods. So it was about 40 acres of woods on a 90-acre plot for $30 an acre. But we have beautiful woods. People used to come in from all over to see that foliage. It was just gorgeous. Beautiful. So the forward part of the land was pine trees, and the back was deciduous woods. It's lovely. And a little creek that we could use the sled sideways, push the snow off, and ice skate on a space probably as big as your dining room table.
Well, and so the woods, that sounds like where you are now up in Canada with Anne.
Exactly. It's like coming full circle and being able to live in something close to what I had growing up, and I feel very much at home there.
Dawn, I wonder if you could tell some of the things that you most admire about your mom.
Oh my, that's easy. I always loved Mom's hands. I always noticed her hands. I had little stubby short fingers, and her fingers were always graceful and beautiful, and she always had them beautifully manicured. Even during the years when you and Dad were planting gardens, your hands were always beautifully manicured. I liked that. She and her mother both had beautiful brown eyes, and I thought her eyes were always so beautiful. My mom was always polite, always kind, and when I was a little kid, we lived in a sort of a rented farmhouse during one point after when we were in Worthington, Ohio, or near there, and we were near a railroad track that was out in the countryside about a quarter of a mile or so from us, and Mom would always give fried egg sandwiches to the hobos who came looking for something to eat. And you never turned anybody away. You always made them a fried egg sandwich, and they would sit on the steps outside the screened-in porch, and you would hook the porch screen door, and I couldn't resist, of course, going to talk to the hobos. But you frowned on that, as I recall. You didn't think that was a good idea.
You could talk to anybody.
That's true. Then after Dad died, she managed to market and sell the business. She managed to sell the property out in the country and move into a beautiful condo in Mount Vernon, and staved off any number of suitors over 16 years before Bob came along. And she finally decided to give marriage a chance again at age 82. Now, is that great? I mean, I just think she's wonderful.
Oh, you make me sound so good.
You are. You are. And she's in her 25th year of doing Aquafit at the it was the Y and now it's the health center. So she's fit. She climbed the same mountain we did in Honolulu a few years back when we went for my son's wedding. It was so nice.
And you like to ride merry-go-rounds, too.
Oh, yes. Even Bob, my husband, went on the merry-go-round with us, didn't he?
Yes?
Yes, you
Mansfield.
did.
Oh,
You were each on a horse. That was so fun.
And you must be very proud, too, of Dawn with her going into the ministry. That's pretty unusual for a woman to push through and to do that.
She amazes me. She was in Christian education for a number of
20
years.
years.
20 years. And then when she told me she had the call for the ministry, it was a little bit hard for me to imagine. But I supported her, I think, and she's done a wonderful job. And she deserves her retirement now.
Yes.
Well, I can only think of one thing that you told me that I didn't know about how you treated Mark. She was 3 years older than her brother. And he would cry sometimes, and I'd find out that she had done something to him.
I can't imagine. I do remember telling a few ghost stories in the dark at night and making the sounds of creaking doors and monsters. I do sort of have a vague recollection of that, but I remember quite clearly the day that he hurled a horseshoe at my head one day, and I ducked, and it left a horseshoe-shaped divot in the living room front door. But I don't think Mom was around right then, or I wouldn't have done it.
You wouldn't have ducked?
I wouldn't have prompted that response from him.
Okay. Do you remember the horseshoe incident?
No, I don't.
Just as well. Oh, I blew my own cover on that one. What did you think when we had twins, when it was my turn? Were you happy to be a grandmother
Oh,
of
yes.
twins? That was good?
Yes.
Okay.
But little Naomi was so sweet and so easy to care for. And Mark was a pill. But he grew up to be a very handsome young man.
And a good dad and a wonderful husband. I'm very, very proud of him. And Naomi grew up just fine, became a scientist. And she looked like this little teeny helpless thing. But I thought when she was born, she looked wise. Wise. And I don't know, it was just something, maybe she wasn't as plump as her brother or whatever. Um, but I think at times she is wise. So that is kind of carried through. It's really kind of fun to see how they grow up. But I'm glad to know you weren't shocked to be a grandmother of twins.
Oh,
That's
no.
good. That's good. I want Lexi to be happy. She's quite an artist, but she has special needs and some difficulties with an eating disorder and things of that nature. I want her to be happy. If she can just be happy, I know her artistic talent and those things will give her pleasure in life. And she has a lot of the courage and spunk that I saw in my mom. So it may be bumping down the generations. I hope Aria can be kept within enough tools to keep her happy, because tools are her favorite thing. But she'll be a bright little cookie. And Nico, I don't know about his personality yet. He's too young. But his grandfather was a surgeon in Japan. And I don't know, maybe he'll be a scientist when he grows up. I don't know. But what they do is less important than that they're happy and healthy and stay close to one another. That's what I wish for them.
afternoon. Are you in need of any assistance today, sir?
No.
Help you cross your yard?
No.
Cross your...
No.
Ow.
Huh? Ah!
Please let me in.
No. Oh.